Good afternoon to all of you. This is Janine Cruzet, your host, your Afternoon Delight by Makikiraan lang po. Before anything else, I would like to have a shout out muna po tayo before we proceed to our program. Shout out po sa Chief Executive Officer ng FEFI, so Jeepney Station, Sir Elmer Francisco. Palakpak naman dyan, Derek. Yan, Happy New Year po, Sir Elmer Francisco. And then, of course, the original, makikiraan lang po, Sir John V. Javier. Happy New Year, sir. And then, yung isa pa po nating host for the Makikiraan lang po Monday edition, laging trending ang kaniyang program, si Sir Paolo Haveliana. Happy New Year, sir. And then, of course, how am I going to forget our technical director, masipag palagi na si Sir AD. Happy New Year, sir. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you. And before, I would also like to greet a happy birthday po dun sa president po ng aming church, si Randolph Dolieton. Happy birthday, bro. And sa lahat po ng mga magbe-birthday and happy anniversary po dun sa friend ko po, si Chrissy Vista, and sa kanyang long-time partner, Ray. So, this afternoon po would be our last program for this Makikiraan lang po, your Afternoon Delight. We will see each other by next year, but I really want to, end 2020 with a blast. So, ngayong pong tanghaling to, medyo dudugo po ang ating mga ilong because our conversation would be in pure English. Because my guests, plural, is two young gentlemen from Nepal. Yan. So before I introduce you to them, I'm going to show you some video, or a video of our advocacy video that, that's also the reason why I've met these two young gentlemen. So, Direct, can you please play the video?
UNFPA logo.
This film has been developed to ensure full accessibility for people with disabilities, and as such, may be a new audiovisual experience for some viewers. Respect, recognize, and engage, addressing challenges for people with disabilities in Asia and the Pacific. Millions of people with disabilities around the world are facing unexpected challenges, particularly due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Video. A woman using a wheelchair is alone on her balcony. She is wearing a medical face mask.
These challenges include restricted movement, lack of choice, struggles to find work, and increasing stigma. Now, more than ever, these challenges need to be addressed. We need to respect the rights of people with disabilities and to ensure all services are equally accessible when needed.
Video. Payanat Suturan. She is in the garden speaking to the camera.
Hello, I'm Payana Sukchalan from the Dowling Self-Advocate Group in Thailand. People need to know that people with disabilities who are under 18 are almost 4 times more likely than their peers without disabilities to experience abuse. And women and young persons with disabilities sometimes experience mistreatment or controlling behaviors from partners, caretakers, or others. Many factors prevent people with disabilities from accessing information and services. These factors are poverty, ignorance about disability, communication problems, and public attitudes about persons with disabilities.
Video end. Animation begins. Close-up of a young Asian woman's face. She's been crying and tears are on her cheek.
Girls and young women with disabilities face up to 10 times more gender-based violence than those without disabilities. With lockdowns, this risk has greatly increased. Dao has Down syndrome. Last night, she was assaulted.
Zoom out to see the girl, Dao, lying alone in bed. Close. UNFPA logo.
Video that we have developed through UNFPA, Women Enabled International, and different international disability organizations with these two young gentlemen. We were the one who edited the audio description in the script. So, without any further ado, I would like you to know, or I would like to introduce the two young gentlemen from the Blind Youth Association, Ram and Vishwa. Yeah. Hello, guys.
Hi.
Hello, namaste.
Hi,
Nam-
namaste, and good afternoon to all the listeners who are currently listening this program
mm-hmm.
through our wonderful host and the good technical team. Um,
Yeah.
Sorry, we are not able to talk in Filipino language. Apology for speaking in English, but we will try to speak a bit slow so that
Uh-huh.
listeners with different types can listen, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
So my name is Ram, and I have my friend, colleague, and a very good gentleman in Nepal, Visho.
Hello, everyone. It's me, Biswa, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm working with this association since 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
and it's quite happy to meet Janine and other team in Thailand. And
Yeah.
Philippines, by the way.
sorry, yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true. We met in Thailand for the
Uh-huh.
advocacy video that we have just watched now. So
Mm-hmm.
in that connection, we take the country Thailand. But yeah, it's good to meet all the friends from Philippines and Manila around.
Yeah. So this program, I would just like to let you know that this program would be like informal. So we're very sick and tired of doing webinars. I know you're doing or conducting webinars, a series of webinars during this lockdown. So this program, I would like you to feel comfortable, like we were just talking, over a cup of coffee, and then let's make it like, getting to know each other, like we really don't know each other. Yeah. So we would like to, our listener to feel comfortable listening to us, even though it's in English. Yeah, my apologies also. But right now we're all giving you a nosebleed. So first and foremost, can you please tell us your involvement in your advocacy in your country, Nepal? So what's your organization? What your organization is doing in your country, and how are you dealing with the other international disability people's organization? So anyone of you can answer.
Good. Thank you so much. As you said, we'll try to speak informally, and when we started talking, then we always overlap the sounds. So sometime I will start, and then Vishnu will continue, and vice versa. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for the opportunity, and we would like to greet all the listeners. Uh, I guess since this is online, so maybe the global audience might be watching us and listening us through Zoom
Mm-hmm.
so much. And um, hello from Nepal, and we are the organization of the blind and partially sighted youth in Nepal. And we have officially registered our organization in 2012. It's been 9 years completed successfully. And we are working, Vishnu and I are working together from the very beginning. And so in Nepal, like mostly in Asia Pacific region, the people with the disability situation is not so much difference. So there are different organizations who are working for blind people, but there was not specific organization to deal with the issue of adolescents and young persons. So with that reason, we started the organization, and now we are working mostly in four different areas. One is the capacity development of our individual blind people, mostly the young persons, and education is our major area to work, mostly the promotion of inclusive education. Then we also work for employment and self-employment promotion, like in Philippines. So many blind people are educated plus also unemployed. And
Yeah.
of course, not all the educated people can go to the competitive labor market and get a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we prepare those semi-educated people or semi-skilled people so that they can either go to the job sector, or they can go to the informal unemployment sector, or the self-employment sector. So, and most importantly, we also work in sexual and reproductive health rights of young persons with disability. So
Yeah.
according to the data, I guess 2% of the total population in Nepal have a disability, but that's already, how long is it? Maybe 10 years older data, right?
Yeah, it's the data of 2011, and by
Mm-hmm.
back then, I think the population census commissioners were not that aware about
Sensitized, right?
sensitized about the persons with disabilities and the number of persons with disabilities. And back then, the parents were also not that aware that they should take the children out in the census and to be counted. So the
Yeah.
number of persons with disabilities are seemed very very less, but the organization like us working in this sector, and the WHO also has said that there is almost a 10% population in the developing country to be persons with disabilities. So we are thinking that it must be high, and our new census is happening in 2021. So we believe that there will be a number of persons with disabilities increased in the census.
Right. So, like in Nepal, the total population is around 30 million. I don't know the total number of Philippines, most probably more than that, right, Janine?
Mm, yeah.
And so people say that there are around 400,000 blind people across the country. But if you see the data, so not more than 10,000 people are educated. That means 390,000 people are still out of formal education system.
Mm-hmm.
So that already tells that the situation of the unemployment among the blind people.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but it's good that organization like yours, like different organization in Philippines. I know at least one RBI, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Resources for the blind.
Right.
So yeah, basically your organization is focused on the education, employment, and SRHR, right?
Yes.
That's
So or do you have other advocacy that you're really focusing on as of the moment, or that's three categories or the rights of persons with disability in general?
no, actually, our advocacy work is also not limited to these three categories.
Mm-hmm.
These are the major area that we are supporting through our different projects. But besides,
Yeah.
like sometimes the national campaign, for example, recently we have celebrated this 16 days campaign on GDV, where
Mm-hmm.
we have done a lot of advocacy work to end the gender-based violence that are faced by women with disabilities.
Yeah.
uh, so these kind of campaigns, which are national level and the local level, we have been doing occasionally, but mostly in a continuous way. But these are the three areas that our project is mostly focused. But
Mm-hmm.
organization is not only limited to these three areas.
Yeah, I understand. So how about you, Sir Visual? So what is your position in your organization? Because I know Ram here is the General Secretary of the Blind Youth Association. How about you, Sir Visual?
Yeah, I'm working as a director in in this association,
Uh-huh.
leading all the activities of Bayan, as well as leading the staff of Bayan as well. And
Uh-huh.
I'm responsible to look after all the activities that we conduct nationally, internationally, and in local levels. As Ram told that we are very vigorously working on three different pillars. We have our district chapters also, 9 district chapters in 7 provinces, where there are almost around 472 general members in our association, and we merely work through our chapters. So the coordination with the chapters, conduction of the activities with the chapters, these are the main activities that I look after.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, in another word, he is the boss of entire organization. He holds
Uh-huh.
the power to mobilize the staff, and he holds the and actually he deserves the big responsibility as well, because
Uh-huh.
he is that kind of capable person who made
Mm-hmm.
the organization very epic.
Yeah. And as far as I can still remember, Vishay has no disability, right?
Yeah.
As far as we can see, we don't. But I don't know if he has internal. I don't. He hasn't explained yet. But yes, obviously, he is not certified person with disability.
Yeah,
So
but
yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's like I started my study. It's like I studied with the blind and partially sighted persons in an integrated school when I was in seventh grade, and from seventh grade I studied with them. So
Uh-huh.
though I don't have disability or I don't have blindness, but I have felt disability and blindness since my childhood. I have worked together, I have played together, and I have
Yeah.
worked together. So I understand quite a lot, I think.
Wow. Yeah, we're glad to know that you do have a heart for persons with disabilities. So, how do you feel about going to work every day as an advocate? Because I know you have your office and then you're also doing that advocacy as your full-time work, right? In Nepal. So, how do you feel about it?
It's like as I already told you that I have worked with, played with, studied with blind and partially sighted people from my early childhood. I
Mm-hmm.
felt some problems during that time when I was in school as well. And now what I feel is like I'm working with all these fellow friends, all these colleagues, all these blind and partially sighted friends. I like to mainstream them from what they are lacking when they were in school children, so that the new school children or the new blind and partially sighted children will get the opportunities which they didn't receive when they were in child. So it's kind of a mainstreaming everyone in one chain so that everyone can get the equal rights for education and equal rights
Uh-huh.
that we have been working for.
Wow, that's great. How about you, Rem? How do you feel
Mhm.
about, working as a full-time advocate?
Thank you, Janine. I was waiting when my turn will come. Janine is asking only to me, so why not, ma'am?
Of course.
No,
Uh-huh.
just to be informal. Okay,
Yeah.
it's a
Okay.
part. Yes, mostly like in Asian country, the government and the civil government is not, very much well equipped to serve with people with disability, when it comes to the inclusion or the mainstream. When you see, I don't think that, I'm not being judgmental, but I think Philippines, like, Cambodia, Nepal, Thailand, India, the situation are not so much different compared to
Mm-hmm.
the Western country or US, right? So
Yeah.
most of the time, government make the policy which looks very good, which reads very nice in the paper, but to translate that into the reality, to translate that into the action, government is not capable to prepare the infrastructures or the system. And if the system is there, then the bureaucracy or the politicians are unaware how to incorporate those things. I just want to give you one example. For example, there's so many youth-friendly health centers in Nepal. These are prepared for the young people to access the SRHR information.
Yeah.
But when the same thing in our case, when we young persons with disabilities are visiting those centers are not accessible for us. For example, there are no braille books, no audio system to access the information, no visual guides, or no sign language interpreter. And
Mm-hmm.
some of the buildings have a lot of stairs without elevator, no ramps.
Mhm.
As a
Yeah.
result, people with a different type of disability cannot access those things. This is one of the reasons we started our organization, because we believe our government is very much trying to support the people with disability and its inclusion, but what is missing is they don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And when we work together through our advocacy, we try to fill that gap of how, because we
Mhm.
know how to do that. What we know what I need, or deaf people know what they need. But government is there to offer the things, and we are visiting the government or doing our advocacy to tell that what we need and how they should provide us. So
Yeah.
so so we are working that way, and it's a good that some of the very positive result we have achieved in our advocacy work. For example, in Nepal, when you are going to the regular school, you learn the same curriculum that the sighted people or without disability learn. That is important. But during the exam, what happens is the blind people need to have another person to read the question, and blind people has to tell the answer verbally. Then that
Mhm.
has to write it down and submit to the teacher. Okay,
Yeah.
and but the problem is we used to get the same amount of time, and
Uh-huh.
obviously it is unfair to us because someone has to read the question, then we have to explain the answer, then
Yep.
he or she has to write down it, and we never get sufficient time to attend all the questions.
Yeah.
And on top of that, some of the questions are asked that are related to the picture. For example, some questions.
Yeah, like when I was in school also, I felt the same. It's like some questions in the examination would be like, there is one
Image.
picture of some
Image.
image of some person, and it is
Uh-huh.
asked that who is that person and what that person has done to the country's development.
Recognize the person given in the picture
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
explain the following answers.
Yeah,
Or
Yeah. Yeah.
draw the Asian map and locate the country Nepal or the place where you are staying.
yeah.
Yep.
And how can
Mhm.
blind people see that, right?
Okay.
Yes.
And to add on that, there is alternative questions as well. That's like the pictorial questions are very important. It is just to give you the brief idea about whether you have knowledge about the pictures or the
Yeah.
maps or not. But it is not the only way how they ask the question. There is another alternative questions for that. If there is one pictorial question, then there will be another or questions, alternative questions with the same pictorial questions of drawing a map or doing something. So what we have been advocating is like we need to have or alternative questions for the blind and partially sighted people, so that they can like
Explain.
they can explain things, or the question should be some explanatory things.
Mhm. So
So,
yeah, yeah. I think we also shared a Philippine setting, also shared that same sentiments when it comes to education and giving examination to person with visual impairment. So probably the thing that we're doing right now here in the Philippines, they're trying to modify the reading materials or the modules for persons with disability so that it would be more accessible and inclusive. Yes, it is. I agree with you. It's not practical to give, examination for persons with visual impairments with graphics because we cannot see. So
Yeah.
yeah,
and
that's great.
good thing is that we did
Uh-huh.
this with the education authority in Nepal.
Mhm.
We visited many times with those examples, and as a result of our advocacy work, now some of the local government are already starting with alternative questions
Right.
if there is a picture or the graphics.
Mm-hmm.
And
and
with the additional
and,
time
and
as
also
well.
additional time is given to us. For example,
Yeah.
if one is attending for 3 hours, will get 1 hour extra.
Mm-hmm.
So these kind of changes has been established through our advocacy. And the
Yeah.
good thing of being the organization of young people is there's a very less hierarchy. No one
Mm-hmm.
is feeling boss. One is 40 plus, one is 20 plus, and someone has to respect like uncle. No, nothing like that. Our office is very friendly. Team of
Yeah.
staff, very vocal, very friendly, because it's also similar kind of age, so that rather than big hierarchy, we treat as friends. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we argue together, sometimes we debate together, but since we are young and dynamic, so we resolve the problems accordingly too. So,
Yeah,
but the
okay.
good thing is that the many people who are not blind would also like to join our organization as a member. But then we say that we only give the membership to the blind or partially sighted people, not
Mm-hmm.
the seeing people. So, but they join as a volunteer or
Yeah.
support person.
Yeah, maybe they can also work with your organization as volunteers. So I hope you don't mind if I ask you, are you compensated working in your organization, or you're the one who's raising your own funds to sustain all the needs of your organization?
It's a good thing that we should get paid. I'm a full-time volunteer. I'm a full-time I'm a full-time worker here, but
Uh-huh.
full-time I'm a voluntary basis.
Yeah.
Just let me
All
yeah,
the board
yeah.
members in this association are the volunteers.
In
It's like,
Nepal,
yeah.
you see, we overlap the sound. Don't get wrong because this is our working style.
Uh-huh.
So in Nepal, the official law says if you are running a non-profit organization or NGO, and if you are in the board, you are not allowed to get paid as a salary staff because
Mm-hmm.
because your motto is a voluntary work. That's why you are in the board. If you want to get paid, join as a staff,
Yeah.
right? But if you are
Yeah.
working, if I'm a general secretary, if my president don't get paid, I don't get paid from here. But Viso and other staffs get paid. Yeah, that's the rule, and we respect that, and we are quite happy. Sometimes it feels like both are working, one is paid, one is not paid, but that doesn't make any difference because we are very much committed to work. So, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, my profession is something else. I do beside my full-time advocacy. I do my own work. I have my own company that does language interpretation service to the different NGO, INGO sector.
Yeah.
This is
Mm-hmm.
how I make my living and sustain the family. But since that is not 24/7 work, I have the time to volunteer and lead the organization for the advocacy work too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think as a volunteer, do you also receive honorarium uh every time that you do your advocacy work, or you are invited to be one of the resource persons? Is there an honorarium for volunteers?
Yes, like because sometimes depending on the organizational resource, sometimes some resource can be shared as a consultancy service, which the board members or the leaders can do, and but that is also a very nominal.
Phenomenal.
Because whoever is joining the organization and working continuously, the principle is that they should not get paid and they should not take this organization as a source of income.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's the collection of commitment that
Mm-hmm.
are synergized, bring the changes where people like Visto, who is not a 9 to 5 person, his pay is of course for 9 to 5, but work is 24/7. So it's a very 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 how do I say, very satisfactory work.
Yeah, yeah. So what could be the advice that you could give to other leaders or young leaders like you in improving their organization? Because I know that your organization, Blind Youth Association, is very influential not only in Nepal but in other countries, because I've attended one of your webinars and I was really amazed, like, oh my gosh, 300 participants in one webinar. So, what would be the advice that you could give to those advocates or other leaders in DPOs or disability people's organization on how to improve, or in how to improve their organization, or as empowered as your organization?
Thank you very much that you tell that we are quite empowered and you have liked our activities that we have been.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's like the main thing is like collective work and the collective advocacy for anything or collective work for anything would lead to success. It's like from
Yeah.
from my experience, what I can assure you that is like we had done one advocacy activity for like having additional time in government jobs for blind and partially sighted as well in a public service commission in Nepal government,
Mm-hmm.
and where we received is like 30 minutes additional time, as well
Yeah.
as we do not have to like appear the pictorial questions in public service commissions. This happened that persons with disabilities would like now more number of persons with disabilities would like compete in the examination and work as a public service officers in Nepal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And for that advocacy, what our strategy was is like before we went number of times, only Bayan went number of time for advocacy to the government officers. It was not working back then. So what we did is like we developed a consortium of number of other organizations working for blind and partially sighted. But we led the content, we led the issue, but there were a lot of other organizations who were like participating and raising the voice for the same issue, and we went collectively. So
Mm-hmm.
as you know that if we go collectively, then the power of our issue and our voice would be heard like quite loud. So we were quite successful in receiving that advocacy, and we just changed in policy of the Nepal government that if persons with disability who cannot write themselves appear in the examination of public service commission, then they will get additional time, as well as they don't have to do the pictorial examination, and it will
Mm-hmm.
be like examined separately as a copies of persons with disabilities. And that has made the remarkable change in Nepal, and number of blind and partially sighted and other persons with disabilities are now enrolled in public service commission. So to top up on that, collective effort for any of the activities would be the best idea for any of the organizations.
And also,
Wow.
yeah, just so you'll get one more wow now.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to speak now.
Now I'm tongue-tied. Okay. Continue, Ram.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Tell me more.
Okay. So one of the advice that if I may add through my experience and our experience is, you know, you should create a friendly environment for young people, because uh, in Nepal, most of the blind people or other young people with disability do not have a lot of opportunity like the without disability have. Like, we have
Mm-hmm.
limitations in sports, limitations in, traveling, limitation in household activity, and
Right.
also limited resources in this and university. As a result, many blind people or other young people with disabilities are isolated, and they have a very narrow circle. You see, like they have a very few friends, like they have a
Mm-hmm.
very much, travel restriction, social participation restriction. Because of all these things, their level of knowledge and participation is already too low. That's why the organization like ours or like in Philippines can create a safer space, can create a very good space for them, so that their leisure time can be
Mm-hmm.
utilized through the participation. And it is particularly possible when you create a club or create or form the organization and give them space. This is what we are doing, because we realized when we were in school, we did not have a sports activity. I could not go outdoor activities because my school system was not very much friendly and inclusive. So I was, all I could do is just, listen, sit on the corner, listen to the radio, or, just that time we didn't have a phone. But now, even in Philippines, if I am not mistaken, like the situation is not so much different. So the young people with disabilities, like either they are blind or deaf, so create a kind of youth friendly club. You don't need to like do so many big things for them. Just create a safer space where people can come and talk and share.
Yeah.
These things will gradually improve their level of interaction, and then you can tell why you are doing these. Once people come to your office, once people come to your club, once people listen your and see your leadership, And if you are truly working for them, then obviously people recognize you and they will follow you. That's what happening, at least in our organization.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what you were saying, just like, while I'm listening here and trying to ponder how Blind Youth Association become very successful in advocating the rights of persons with disability. Number one, as Vishu said, you have to have that collaborative effort. So you expand your networks and connections. And number two, as you said, Ram, that you should also be friendly and try to, be connected to the less fortunate or less privileged persons with disability, right?
Yeah.
So what else can you like, what other strategies are you practicing right now? Because actually, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, this December, all of my guests were persons with disability, but they're very, like, I'm not saying, I don't want to say that they're old, but we were encouraging. I would really want to introduce, old leaders in the sectors here in the Philippines, and then be encouraged young generation like you to continue what they have started.
Mhm.
So, because I do believe that young generation leaders, they're more innovative, creative, more alive and more unlike, other old leaders. So, you as a young generation, what else or innovations are you trying to practice in your country to make your organization more influential?
Mhm. Yeah, you wanna
Yeah.
go?
Yeah, the main I think success that we have reached here is like we are the organization of the issue holders, not actually the experts. We are not the experts.
Mm-hmm.
We have faced a lot of problems. We means blind and partially sighted. I'm counting myself in a group. So yeah.
Uh-huh.
Don't become blind. You
Yeah.
want to use this number.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. What I mean to say that is we have issue and we have faced problems since the very beginning. And what we do now as well, the problems that Ram has faced when he was in school might not be the same problem that new children or new students would face. So what we numbers of time do is like we visit the local chapters or we visit the schools to talk about them about what are issues and what are the things that is going on in the field or in the place nowadays. So we search for the issue with our chapters as well. Whenever we get a gathering, whenever we get a meeting, we discuss about what are the problems that we have been facing nowadays,
Uh-huh.
and what might be the possible solutions that we might can like bring forward so that it would be easier for everyone or easier for new generations to cope around. So finding the issue that we have to work on or finding the areas that might need some specific focus we discuss within our teams quite often. So I
Mm-hmm.
think finding the key area to work has been our another area that we are quite open to find the issue. Then after we know the if we know the specific issue that is happening in the field now, then we can directly work on that.
Yes, and also
Mm-hmm.
like one of the strategy that we are taking is sharing the leadership.
Hmm.
For
Yeah.
example, we have a national. This is Blind Youth Association is a national association because in Nepal we have a federal government, provincial government. So we have a total 7 province, and each province we do have our district chapters.
Hmm.
At
Yeah.
one.
At least.
So what we do is in a national level we are taking leadership at the moment,
Mhm.
and in a district level those local people are in the board of the like a district in a district board
Mm-hmm.
are in executive role. So they not only they come and visit the organization, they also
Mm-hmm.
get opportunity to practice their leadership with some specific identity. For example, one young boy who is blind, who is uh, very much hesitating to move around and talk about the issue. Now he becomes the district level secretary of the association. Then he gets
Mm-hmm.
the identity. You see, hey, I'm a secretary. I need to prepare the minors. I need to prepare the advocacy agenda. I need to call for the meetings. because people trust me. I'm the secretary, I'm the vice president, I'm the treasurer, even though there is very less money, I have to
Mm-hmm.
manage. So these kind of identity, no? This kind of this leadership role that we share among our members, that will
Yeah.
really encourage them. Even though the title is very, very less, then that title is really much count. Sometimes when a boy or girl who is young visiting the government office, then he or she will introduce that, hello, and I'm blah 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 blah, and I'm the secretary or I'm the president of the Blind Youth Association, you know, um, like a district chapter X, Y, something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
that gives them kind of recognition, and that
Yeah.
recognition is kind of motivation for them for the continuation. And once they are practicing the local level leadership, then we invite them in a national leadership. You see, so this is how they see their space, they see their recognition. And
Mm-hmm.
when you are able to recognize them with some title, then their level of commitment and continuation will be increased.
Yeah. And the central board would be changed every 3 years. There will be election every 3 years, and where those chapter members who would be like participating from the chapters in the election can like compete in the president and general
Mm-hmm.
secretary and others every 3 years. So there will be like a kind of a commitment that okay, if I work good, then people would like choose me for the central board election as well. So they will have
Yeah.
this motivation in a way.
And also openness and democratic practice is also very important, because
Yeah.
once you share the leadership should be uh, continue but also changeable,
Yeah.
because then people will think that otherwise, okay, this person, and after that that person, after that person she, then when my turn will come. If people don't see themselves in the major leadership, then their dedication is very much less.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's very important that under your leadership, you should be able to invite others, so that others can also raise their hope that one day, if I work here, I will become Mr. Ram, or I will become Vishnu, something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
So
it seems like, they're going up a ladder. So they're going to start from the community, like the local government, and then from local government to the national government. Because over here in the Philippines, we have national, local, provincial, and then
same here.
also municipal level, and then barangay level. So that's the grassroots. So there in Nepal, you were also like doing your advocacy or even your leadership by a ladder system, so they're going up the ladder or stair, so they need to work in the grassroots first, and then going up, stage by stage, if
Yeah,
I understood it right.
very
Yeah,
true,
very
very
true.
true, and you understood beautifully.
thank thank you very much. So what do you call that? So what is the work environment or culture in your work or in your office there in Nepal? So do you have also, because over some organizations reality check, reality bites, they're also, a competition within the same organization. So how about in Nepal, do you also experience intrigues, rumors, or competition within your organization?
Yes, very much. This is, I think, the global problem.
Global
And
problem.
when it comes to the disability, it is very much, very honestly, it is a little bit bitter. But I think if we practice fairly, the bitter can be transformed into better. Because
Uh-huh.
having many organizations is a many identity. As Vishu said previously, when you know 10 participants from one organization compared to the two participation each from five organizations, that is more representative, right?
Mm-hmm.
You involve five organizations, that means more power. But then very, very reality, as you say, little bit bitter is sometimes people just because of course everybody cannot fit always in the same time, right? So some people
Mm-hmm.
are satisfied, or some people who have some ego problem, or want to do something else but not getting proper opportunity at the same time, then they organize the group of people and register their own organization. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so it is very good that many organization is creating opportunities, but then sometimes there is a risk of duplicating the programs,
Yeah.
risks of duplication, and also very very big competition in seeking fundings. For example,
Yeah, I agree.
local government, okay, there are 5 organizations, whom to choose, right? If
Mm-hmm.
there are 3 organizations just for the blind people and other 2 or 3 for the physical, or 10, let's say 10 for deaf, then whom to give, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes then people sometimes don't share their ideas. If I share this, maybe the other organization will apply this idea. Then the creativity sometimes hides
Yeah.
within themselves. You see, because then if they share the concept, then other might apply that before
Mm-hmm.
they apply. So sometimes we also face such situations in previously, where our leadership was just practicing, not so much mature. Then so many people were already in a different organization,
In
but
different positions.
in different position. Then they also
Mm-hmm.
want to join our organization.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is one way, it's a good, but sometimes the problem is when we do some good things here, then they try to take that idea into their organization, and the same
Mm-hmm.
organization, 2 different organizations doing same program, right? It's a kind of
Yeah.
the duplication. That problem is also in Nepal, but it is a kind of minor problem, not a,
Mm-hmm.
but that is very much happening.
Yeah. So how do you manage that, that issues of competition, rivalry within the same, or, internally? So as a director, Vishu, how do you deal with that as a director? Because you're in board, because I think you are more responsible in dealing this situation rather than Ram, because he's more in the logistic part. So when there's a situation like that, how do you deal with that as a director of your organization?
As Ram already mentioned that before we had a problem that our leadership persons in the board were also involved in other activities. So it was quite of a problem that when there is one leader in one organization and he is representing another organization, as Ram said, there is a uh,
Mm-hmm.
problem of duplication of the activities, problem issues of like confidentiality and others. So
Yeah.
what we did is like in our constitution, what we manage is like if you are like in the key post of this association, one cannot be in the key post with another association.
Mm-hmm.
We updated our constitution likewise. So whenever there is our, it's like there are 5 key positions in blind youth association Nepal. Those key position holders cannot be the key position holders of any other organization. If they want to be the key person to another organization, then he or she should be leaving blind youth association Nepal. So we amended our constitution likewise. So that it happened is like the ones who are in the other organizations cannot compete. Either they have to leave that organization and come to Blind Youth Association Nepal, or they cannot join another organization. By this way, we manage that now our board is not involved in any other organization. Our key representatives are not involved in other organizations, because if they are involved in another organization, they
Mm-hmm.
have to keep buying.
It's just the idea of that, you cannot put your 2 feet in 2 different boats.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
either you drown or your boat will sink. So this is just one idea. But as you said, if I may jump on this,
Mhm.
which I already did, sorry. But so one other thing that there is a duplication in the activities, project designing, um, and sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
like, and also another problem is sometimes the same beneficiary is called by different organization for same program. For example,
Mm-hmm.
if you are doing computer training, there's another organization, blind association or somebody else, they are also doing computer training program after 3 months,
Yeah.
and the same participant sometime here, sometime there. So
Yes.
things are very much happening,
Mm.
not only in our case but in many other organizations. So yeah, these kind of things are there. That's why. But main important thing is, you know many organizations, they might be successful to bring
Mm-hmm.
members, right? Because sometimes they offer beautiful package programs, but retaining those members is very, very challenging. Now,
Yeah,
once
I
they come
agree.
to the association, so at first you do the good programs, then people,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I don't have any work, rather than sitting on my apartment, I
Yeah.
would go there, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then sometimes they join. But the problem is, if those members, when they come to the organization, and if they are not valued, if they are not recognized, then slowly member will lose the interest to you
Mm-hmm.
and to your organization. And once they lose the interest, then it's very difficult to regain. That's why
Yeah.
it gets too late. We should be really careful how to retain those members.
Wow. Amazing. So we only have time check 1:53 here. So we
Right.
only have 7 more minutes because my program is until 2 p.m. here in the Philippines. So my last question would be, as a leader, as a young generation leader of the disability sector in Nepal or in all over the globe. So what would be one value that you would like to share with fellow advocates like us that, while listening to you, like for example, me, I could, say that, yeah, I am the charming Janine. That would be the value that I could, share with other fellow advocates so that to attract more advocates. How about you guys? What would be that one value or characteristic that you would like to spread to other fellow advocates as a closing message?
If I have to say the one message to all the like youth advocates is like it's like there are a lot of ideas that are being generated in each and everyone's mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the best part would be like respecting each and everyone's idea and using the best one with the best value and the best message from me to everyone. As I said before, that numbers of people have the different ideas which can
Mm-hmm.
be used to develop the organization as well. So if you are a leader, then you should listen and you should respect each and everyone's idea
Agree.
and utilize each
Yes.
and everyone's idea wherever possible. So I think recognizing the respecting each other's idea would be my suggestion to everyone.
Wow, amazing. Thank you, Vishu, for that wonderful message. How about you, Ram?
This is the benefit of first speaker. He taught all the good. Well,
Okay.
friends who are listening, we are not like scholars or to give the idea, but as far as our experience says, because we always say that respect the diversity within the disability. We
Mm-hmm.
advocate that to the government. We demand that to the civil society. But wait and check, reflect inside your organization and reflect inside you.
Mm-hmm.
Am I really respecting the diversity of the disability? Is my association is really open and inclusive to all? Are
Yeah.
you respecting the difference or not? Right? Because
Mm-hmm.
that is very, very important. As we should say, leaders listening and recognizing the other's idea. Of course, you may not be able to apply those all things. Definitely, you cannot give all space to all the time. But the most important thing is that everyone wants to be respect, everyone wants to be recognized, and if possible, engaged, as UNFPA video says. So
Yeah.
people want to be heard, and people will understand if in a race, if they are a little bit behind, a little bit forward, that's okay. But the main idea is whether I am valued or not. So that thing is very, very important, despite of a different caste, gender or the ability, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I know we are very much in the ending situation, but sometimes what we need to recognize is we share the responsibility. We share the opportunity on an equal basis. We
Mm-hmm.
are sometimes equal in distribution, but in
Agree.
our case, we should be equal in enjoyment and in utilization. So most of the organization, they adopt the principle of equality, but somehow that is limited to the distribution. But if you want to be a leader, if you want to retain as a leader, try to ensure that your equality should not be limited in distribution. It should be expanded to the
Mm-hmm.
utilization.
Yes, fantastic. So it's always shared opportunity. Just like with the UNFPA video, advocacy video, respect, recognized and engaged, so as to achieve inclusive, accessible society for persons with disability. So thank you very much. We
Oh,
almost I only have 2 minutes left for my program because next program would not will be for Sir Romel. Thank you very much, Vishu. Thank you very much, Ram, for sharing us your insights, sharing us your best practices in your organization, and especially sharing your time and talents and skills and intelligence so as to empower more advocates here in the Philippines and especially in your country or even in other country. We're looking forward that we can do collaborative effort and then
mhm.
we could connect you to other organizations that would like to also do the same work that you're doing in your country because
Thank you, Jenny.
in united work or just like Vicious said, collective work or collaborative effort is more powerful than just one voice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janine. And it's a wonderful opportunity for us, for blind
Uh-huh.
youth in Nepal, to be, involved and to be participating in this program. And those who are listening at the moment, you can
Uh-huh.
visit our Facebook, our website, or you can directly, contact us because idea sharing, because wherever you
Yeah.
either are in Philippines or Nepal, we blind people, we people with disability,
Uh-huh.
somehow, you know, our these sectoral unity and the sectoral things are very much similar, so that
Mm-hmm.
we share the some common values, we share the
Yeah, I
common,
agree.
so that let's try to be connected now, and
Yeah.
that connection doesn't cost any money. Sharing idea, developing friendship doesn't cost any money, and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't require any funding for the like the for the project. So let's we are very open to welcome you,
Yeah. So
and
what's your Facebook page?
Blind Youth Association Nepal.
Okay, so Blind Youth Association Nepal. So, to all of our viewers and audience right now listening, and if you are persons with visual impairment and you want to be empowered and be connected to the Nepal, maybe they can also connect you to other organizations that could help you improve your leadership skills, organizing your community. Check on their Facebook page, Blind Youth Association Nepal. Thank you. Again, this is Janine Cruzet, your host or your afternoon delight by Makikiraan lang po, Tuesday edition. See you next year. Thank you. Dios te
New
bendiga.
Year too.
Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Happy New Year too.
Okay,
Happy
bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Wow.